Welcome to the show, folks. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Mike Asherbranner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector, proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community. And no, you're not seeing things. Uh, April Wyatt, she's not having to host the show today. How are you?
It's nice to be on this side of the mic, Mike.
That was clever, a little corny, but perfect for this show. All right. So that's how this show is going to go, folks. Actually, it's not. We have a brilliant panel. Take notes, right room. But before we get started, I want to make sure we always give shout outs to things that are beneficial, that are exciting, and folks can tap into, right? I want everybody that usually comes in to go, are they going to invoice me for that? Is that for real? Yeah, it's for real. And that's what you're going to get tonight. So here is the very first thing. You are the retreat queen because this thing's almost full. It's only February. So tell folks about it real quick. Who is it? Who would benefit? So folks can either learn or share it with others.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mike. Yes, this
Welcome.
retreat is near and dear to my heart. Is for anybody who is looking for a way to just release tensions and decompress, literally like unplug, as the Wi-Fi is not that great there in Bali, and just to be in a amazing community of people, the culture. We're going to, of course, do a little bit of breath work, ease that tension, and also engage in the community there. Meet some Balinese children, watch them dance, the traditional Balinese dance, do the waterfall tours. You can see that's me looking up at that waterfall. It's huge, by the way. And also go to a temple and experience a water purification ceremony there. So it's all about culture, connection, and community. So if you're looking for that, reach out to me, DM me. There's a little tiny QR code at the bottom of that image. You can take a picture of that. But I'm really excited, and I see that Victoria's here, and she's actually going to be part of the show as part of the retreat as well. So thank you, everyone. And I'm so excited to offer that.
Thank you, April. And two things. You got to get that Mr. Peanut planner spit with that little monocle. Is that what it's called? You got to get that. So if you can get a microscope, scan that QR code, or you can just go to April Wyatt, WYETT. And also, are you pushing buttons? Don't make me take away your StreamYard rights. Did you just push buttons?
I did.
All right. All right. Now you're going to see a power grab, y'all. Okay. Let's do it. Dog park style. Let's fight. No. All right. So real quick, I want to give a major shout out because so much is going on and the media network inside the Hounds. This is about amplifying. If you have a steakhouse, who do you want to show up to it? Hungry steak eaters, right? And all too often, a bunch of vegans showing up, and that's not good for either one. So what we like to do is give a shout out. Curtis Rivers, he's going to be on this panel in a few minutes. He was on the one and only Steve Ramona, amazing guy, heart-centered, high level as they come. And, Steve has been very gracious. He put many good folks, including Hounds, on the show. Just wanted to give him a shout out. Very highly ranked in entrepreneurship. And he's all about people first. So there you go. Wanted to give a good shout out to our good friend, Steve. Thank you for all you do, brother. And also, I wanted to give a shout out to our very own, all right, Nathan Mitchell, Leading Power TV. Oh, wow, y'all. I felt good. I got to go first. And I had no idea the caliber of people that Bob Berg, Steve Ramona's. I mean, it was amazing. And guess what? Russ Hedge, our very own, he has got a great book coming out. Life Happens, Then You Choose. This guy lived through the school of hard knocks, cancer survivor, just an all around good guy. So I want to give these guys a shout out. Hey, thank you for all you do, Nathan. You have pushed people up, elevated the message, and you're a great man. So I'll tell you what, without further ado, last thing, this is huge. March is Women's History Month. And I don't have the graphic. Everything is brand new, but stay tuned, folks. This will be epic. So this is hashtag She Wins March. That's our Women's History Month collaboration, spotlighting women who lead, build, and endure. All March long, we're going to host powerful live conversations. And it all builds towards a month-end celebration on Zoom with the one and only Lachelle Atkins, America's Supermom, right? And her company. So networking event, there's going to be giveaways, speakers. If you're interested in all, the hashtag, we're going to run the ticker on the screen. If you're interested in learning more, being a part of this, send us a message on LinkedIn, Hounds of Business, right? This has already grown. We have partners like I Am Women's Magazine with their men's launch as well. Brand Face is on board, right? And we're going to be supporting women-owned organizations making huge impact, like Shonda Spates of Flourish Foundation Project. So this is epic, and the more the merrier. All right. So if you have interest in it, let me know. All right. Let us know, and we will hook you up. All right. So without further ado, I tell you what, let's get this party started. Let's run this intro. Let's get the folks on and give them what they came for. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's go.
Yes, ma'am. If I can find the buttons, you've been pushing buttons all day.
I'll push your buttons.
I got this one.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right, folks, we're just going to open up the gates. Cattle call. Look in the comments. I'll put them on the screen, and I'll put them in a little side demo here. We're going to ask questions, share, connect, talk. Don't pitch, slap with a P. You know, that's not our style. But connect. Get to know people, right? Right room, right results. So let's bring them all in. Boom, boom, and boom. Hello. How's everybody doing?
Great. Hello.
All right. Curtis, serious question. Do you like giraffes or clouds? Which one's better?
Clouds.
You were ready for it. He said it's an inside joke. He's not shakeable, and I look dumb. That's how it's supposed to go. All right, folks. So do me a favor. We'll go around the room and give them a little bit, 20, 30 seconds, who you are, what you do, and what you're excited about. Christopher Colombo, floor is yours, brother.
Not a joke. My parents did that to me. Thanks, Mike. So
I was born with this hat, so I don't. Yeah.
I'm a retired Army critical care physician, still practicing clinically, but have also reintegrated Army leadership and professional development and mentoring back into my life by starting up an executive and positive psychology coaching practice.
Yeah, so you're a unicorn. That's what you're a hotspot.
Yeah, the horn's growing in, but
man, I tell you, you move, you're straightforward, love what you're all about. Julie Johnson, Integrate Trauma-Informed Network. See, I got that right.
You got it. You did that. Yeah, so I'm Julie Johnson. My background is in instructional design and experience design. And in that experience design, we've developed a network of therapists, wellness professionals, UX designers, and really just human-centered designers. Design can be a large, swath of meaning there, but we really base our network off of, how we center the human experience in how we relate, how we network, and how we show up in the world from this lens of trauma-informed care. And I'll be talking more about that as we get into the show. But that's really what my work's about and kind of what we amplify as a network and then in our work with the app as well.
And we have done a lot of good things together, trade guests, go back and forth, push people up. And you have the real deal. What you do is life-changing for many, just like everybody on this panel. That's why you're here, right? You go at it different angles, but you're all about helping people heal, overcome negative tapes, really just get back to their real self. I mean, we just get all kind of crap in life. And you guys really know how to help people in different lanes. So I can't wait to get going. Curtis Rivers, my good friend. What is it? Midnight in the UK, but you are still here with a smile. Take it away, big dog.
Yeah, 10 past midnight. So if I look a bit sleepy, please forgive me if I start to doze off.
We will.
Well, Curtis Rivers, a former award-winning movie stuntman, member of the Hollywood Stuntman's Hall of Fame, and a 2 times Guinness World Record holder. I'm also author of the award-winning book, The Fearless Path. And basically, I help people who are feeling flat, anxious, or stuck in a life that no longer fits. I help them to reimagine, realign, and reignite their path to freedom.
There you go. And April Wyatt, I assume everybody knows you, but if they don't, tell them.
Yes. Well, I just love everyone that's here, and I can see why you invited all us of us here, Mike, because I'm all about somatics and bringing people back to themselves. So soma is body in Latin, and my work involves people who are, overwhelmed, anxiety, stress, on the verge of burnout. I bring them back to their natural capacity through their body. And I do that in a variety of ways, and also through breath work. So I'll be talking more about that and what that looks like and how that can support people in different leadership roles, even entrepreneurs, to really bring them back to themselves.
Well, one time she told me to go outside, put my toes in the grass, which I politely informed her I live outside and I don't wear shoes. So this is a very easy thing to follow. And it worked. So let's get down to it. Christopher, we're going to start with you, big dog. What actually happens neurologically and physiologically when someone is deregulated or dysregulated? And how does it show, like, how does it impact decision-making and performance?
So, I mean, Mike's a great question. We're all wired a certain way. And although, culture, the workplace interaction have changed drastically over thousands of years, our brain physiology and chemistry really hasn't changed that much. So there's kind of two big pieces of that. One is, how do you get dysregulated in the first place, which I know we'll touch on later. But when you're dysregulated, stimulus is usually seen more as threat than anything, right? And your brain has a negativity bias. You want to protect yourself, right? And evolutionarily, that makes sense. If you're very curious about things and you might miss out on a little success, you're a hunter-gatherer, you don't get those tasty berries, not a big deal if you've avoided the saber-toothed tiger that was about to end you. So that negativity bias is helpful, but we're not running from saber-toothed tigers anymore. So when we see what is non-fatal stimulus as threatening and our physiology reacts the same way as it would, from a lethal threat, you can figure what's going to happen. Heart rate goes up, start sweating, start getting tunnel vision and focus, and you don't have that kind of broad thinking, calm, easygoing, integrative approach to things. You have fear and distress.
Yeah, I mean, but our caveman brains, but we don't have to worry about getting chased by tigers and stuff every day, but it still does its thing, right? And see, I'm only enlightened because I have you around. That's what you guys make me smart. I'm serious. But application of knowledge is power. So Julie, let's move on to you because I like your thoughts on this. Let me put it this way. If you want to add to that directly, go ahead. But I want to know, where do you, from your lens, where do you see dysregulation showing up before someone even realizes it's happening?
Well, it's funny because I've been talking about this whole week, like in our work on our app, is we talk about this from the lens. My point of view on this is from since we kind of were talking about the science of it through polyvagal science by Stephen Porges from the Polyvagal Institute. And from that perspective, we're talking about something called neuroception, which means, we kind of what Chris was saying, which means we're sensing fear before we're even conscious of it, right? Like we can sense it in our bodies before we have clarity about, oh, I'm fearful of that spider, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, like, for example, for me, I hate cockroaches. And when I see something like kind of weird and black, I'll just kind of freeze, and I'm like, and that's for me, like, that's neuroception beginning to kind of, I notice it, but I'm not like, oh, what am I going to do about it? I'm afraid of a cockroach. I'm going to go have my husband go get it. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't gone through, that's a very minor, but like, I think relatable, experience of an everyday aspect of how dysregulation impacts decision-making, right? Is I just see something black in the corner of my eye that's crawling, and I'm like frozen and I'm like, oh, God, I don't have conscious thought on like, oh, what are actions I can go through to get that to move. And that's what we call neuroception, which means I'm scanning inside of me to see, is that a bug, or is that maybe just like some hamburger my 13-year-old kid left on the, left in the kitchen or whatever, So right. I can't quite get to that point, but that's like a I think a minor but relatable way of showing how that subconscious, is it a tiger, is it a cockroach, or is it just, stuff my teens just left on the ground? I can't get to the point.
Is that what people mean by my mind's playing tricks on me? Is that kind of like your mind's doing its thing or your brain's doing its thing, but then you kind of got to stop with your mind and go, is that, because I want people that just tuned in to kind of get what we're talking about.
I mean, from my perspective, yeah, that's where you have to sit, especially if you have a history of trauma or you do have a history of abuse and you've done some work, like with all these people, and you've done some work, you do have to pause. I mean, I know I do, and I have to sit and I notice myself kind of go into what we would call a freeze state, which would be I'm pausing because I don't know if it's a threat, and I can't make those cognitive decisions, that clarity to get there, because I'm stuck in kind of that, like, is it a safe or is it a threat? And I'm kind of pendulating inside of my body between the two before I can make a conscious thought. So yes, I just explained it the polyvagal perspective, but yes.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here and act like I understood all that, then ask these guys after the show. No, but you're right. No. And you do break things down very well, because you've helped me as well as April. And I want to move to April on this, because from her perspective is a little different, right? So April, what changes when someone stabilizes their nervous system before trying to fix behavior?
Yeah, that's a good question. Although I want to just piece it back together of Christopher bringing in like the functioning of the brain, right? That's so reptilian and automatic, right? We don't have a choice. The brain is automatically responding. And as Julie said, that neuroception happening, right? That is like 2 feet around us. And it's constantly on alert, and that's with the amygdala. And so when we are aware of when we're heightened with that state, and we can recognize when we're in that heightened state, then we can make a choice of, wow, I'm already feeling activated even before I go into a meeting, or I'm supposed to have this conversation with this person, and I'm already feeling like I'm shutting down. Right. So being in that space of being aware of what's happening with our bodies and our minds is key. That awareness is the first step. And then they can make a choice to step back, to literally take a breath, right? That's the first thing that they can control. Anybody can control in the autonomic nervous system. And so that helps to break that cycle of that sympathetic nervous system response, and kind of shift them into the parasympathetic, more into the rest and digest of, oh yeah, I was feeling very, very heightened, and I'm going to give myself some space here. I'm going to do some other practices, or just be aware. So that way they're not going into a meeting, they're not having that interaction with that person in that reactionary mode, because then nothing's going to go well in that space.
And I'm proof that it works, because she's done that with me, and so does Curtis. And I'm still uncovering the depths of Christopher Colombo. So I'm learning just as much as you all. And Julie, absolutely the queen of trauma. Like, as bad as that just sounded, but you know what I mean? Like, and I love the perspective, because not everybody needs the same tools or guidance, right? But we have the same kind of human, makeup, and that's very important. So there was a time,
responses too. We need to recognize how we respond, how our bodies are been conditioned to respond under different situations.
And layers. There was a time where I had to undo a lot of childhood things and trauma and whatnot. And it never, I don't know if it always goes away, but then you level up, you start a business, and then it becomes a high performance need, right? And that's why we're doing this show. Because you should. To me, it's leveling up. I could be totally wrong. I'm not the expert. I'm just a dude, conducting this facilitation. But from a practitioner, that's how I looked at it, right? Like, we're always, like, I used to try to work at this level in the business when I was kind of burying my head in the sand with things that were holding me down subconsciously, right? I didn't address the root issue. I was just putting Band-Aids on it. And, a lot of folks do that because that's the way we grew up. We never heard anybody say there's another way. And there is a lot of ways. I mean, Julie, you got an app, you got a whole community, you got newsletters, you got free resources. All of you bring something to the table. And I want to see people become their best self. So thank you for that. Curtis, boy, you've lived it and done it, and school of hard knocks, and then knowledge. How does regulation impact identity and follow through? So why is that important?
Well, if you think back to my stunt background, so if one of my stunt performers, I did stunt directing for many years, if they were dysregulated, I could see that from a mile away. Because before a stunt, dry mouth, heart racing, shallow breathing, like quite reactive. You could see that. Okay, so they're not operating from their identity as a highly trained professional. They've left that because they've allowed this to take over, that fight or flight. Survival mode's kicked in. And that's what was mentioned before with that. It's designed, the reptilian part of the back of the brain, fight or flight, designed to save us from a saber-toothed tiger that hasn't been around for a long, long time. And that doesn't care about standards. It cares more about the threat, really. Mm-hmm. But when they're regulated, when a stunt performer is regulated, they're nice and steady, focused, and they're able to access all of that training that they've spent many, many years. And it takes years. It took me 7 years to become a stuntman. They can access that and access that highly skilled, composed professional, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I want to kind of move over and keep you here. Had the folks chime in with their perspective, but I want to talk more about why pressure-based performance eventually breaks most people, right? There's some people who can do it, right? Like I think of Goggins and, stay hard and all that. But a lot of us, eventually the willpower and things that just don't drive us. So in your experience personally and the folks you coach, why do pressure, urgency, fear-based tactics, why does that seem to create short-term results, but long-term failure in a lot of us?
Yeah, I think, well, to be honest, I think pressure works in some situations. I've seen that, but only in my experience, short term, because it's triggering adrenaline, which you would think would be a great thing as a stuntman. Everyone assumes a stuntman is an adrenaline junkie, but actually, the good stunt performers, that's not the case at all. Because you get a sharp focus for a very short period of time, like great for one take, but it's just not sustainable. That level of adrenaline, it actually eventually quite quickly narrows your thinking. It chips away at your confidence. It's actually quite exhausting. I used to be exhausted after anything that adrenaline inducing, particularly my skydiving days. It's exhausting by the end of the day. And in that environment, you're kind of associating performance with threat, which is why it goes into that way. So I used to work for coordinators who'd scream down the radio, "Get this right, or you're off this job. You'll never work in this town again." That kind of thing, right? So you'd get compliance and you'd get some intensity, but it was all fear-based, right? And so you'd never get the best out of people that way. So when I moved up and I was no longer a performer, or I did less performing, and I was now the boss, I was the stunt coordinator, the stunt director, like, me being me, I just took a completely different approach. So calm rehearsals, clear communication, and I played to a performer's strengths. So we'd rehearse until it all felt second nature. So you can scare someone into delivering once, but you can't scare them into being excellent over and over again. And on a film set, I needed that excellence take after take.
Okay, finally something I can contribute with, because I was a fireman for 8 years, right? So when you said and I want to let the ladies take notes here because I want to hear your perspectives. But it was that adrenaline. You go into a burning building, you turn into a reptile. Your midbrain takes over, the adrenaline, all this. And when you're stuck on that constantly, I mean, you get 2 hours sleep, then you got to go fight fire like this. You're absolutely right. It not only diminishes a lot of capabilities, leadership, teamwork, but it wears you out. I mean, have you ever really seen a fireman that was like, hello, 20 years after? It's like a punch out boxer. It's mentally and physically just erosion. And so, yeah, I felt that. And I didn't understand it, though. And that's the problem. People just think, well, toughen up, be a man, that kind of stuff. And that's not the solution. I mean, and that's why we put these shows on. So let's go to the guy who's seen this, right? Army medic, all of this. Chime in. I was going to prompt you, but there's no necessary. Yeah. What is your take into this? And, what does prolonged stress do to cognitive performance over time? Because soldiers, military, Wow.
So that, I mean, you happened on the key word, Mike, which is prolonged, right? And what Curtis is talking about is, I hoped you'd ask me this question after listening to him, is, you know, like any other learning or adaptation or growth, right? Whether it's I'm going to go into the gym and increase my bench press, or I'm going to go run faster or farther, or I'm going to be functional when I run into a burning building or go into combat. Those are stressors that you can adapt to. But any adaptation requires an appropriate amount of stress, right? No stress, the memory functions of your brain don't work as well as they do when they're under a little bit of stress. If you're under complete distress, right? There's no stress, there's distress, and in the middle, it's called eustress, right? EU stress, the eudaimonia, euthyroid, right? Euthermic. There's that Latin prefix about the Goldilocks. It's just right. And with just right amount of stress and rest and recovery and consolidation, you get growth and adaptation and higher performance. With prolonged, unrelenting, excessive distress, pick whichever one of those, right? Too much or not enough rest or too long, you break down, right? It would be the same as if I've lifted and did bench press 12 days in a row and was wondering why I kept getting weaker and weaker versus somebody who does it every third day. And by day 12, they're 10% stronger and looking at me like, what are you doing wrong? It's that whole physiology, whether it's the mind or the body.
So you're not weak, you're not less of a man or woman, blah, blah, blah. It's just the way the body works. It's biology and stuff, right? There you go.
Yeah.
And when you understand it, it's like learning a game, right? If I go into a football game with a baseball bat, somebody should have told me wrong game, right? And this is what you all do in your own right, which is to help people understand the game, what it is to be human, biology.
If Curtis trains stuntmen with no stress and no fear and no, cognizance of the danger they're in, that's going to go terribly. And if the only way that they're interacted with, or a firefighter, right? If you don't understand the bad things can happen in burning buildings, someone did a disservice in training you. But if you never get a day off,
that's it. And this is where Julie, and this is where I want to pick Julie's brain, because it is and I'm just talking for me, but it's very difficult to shut it off when you're in a high stress state like militaries. And this applies to people watching, right? You're building your business 15 hours of a day, right? You're sacrificing, you're doing the things, but then months turn into years and you stay in that state. And so it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a fireman and soldier. You just have to be a mom or a dad or multiple hats. Maybe you're caregiving. I mean, it doesn't have to be extreme. Pressure is pressure and stress is stress, right? So Julie, I was going to prompt you, but you don't need a prompt. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah. So I think, what happens is, and what the risk is when we don't know our states, or we don't know how to recognize chronic stress. What Christopher and Curtis are doing is they're doing something which is actually good. The autonomic nervous system isn't always bad. What they're doing is they're giving you like short little bursts of the autonomic nervous system out of a survival and precision in Curtis's case, but they're doing something really important, which is they're releasing the pressure valve. We call that the ventral brake in polyvagal science. You're completing the stress cycle. I just want to make sure that that's the difference here. What happens with chronic stress is that you don't release that valve, the stress valve, okay, through whatever breath work like April, or, work with Curtis, those are all practices that help release the pressure valve, but if you have long-term stress, you keep going and going, you take, for example, Mike, from just because we were talking about the fire, being a firefighter, because that's a really high pressure, high stress trauma job, and you take that home, you take all of that stress home, and then it builds, and maybe you have childhood trauma on top of that, and it keeps going and going, and you don't have like April's breath work or somatics to help release the pressure valve inside of you, then that will create, ongoing chronic stress problems with the heart, with other aspects of chronic illness, but because our nervous system needs that, what we call the vagal brake, that break in the vagus nerve where we can rest and digest, which accesses what what April was talking about earlier, the parasympathetic nervous system. I'm just saying these things with science just because we have to know our neurology. We have to know our neurobiology. So I'm saying these words not to sound like a, brainiac or like above everybody, but I'm just saying these things because this is actually health and understanding and being able to access that pressure valve, that release, is a part of our health.
I think I understood you. Let me double check before we go to April. So this prolonged chronic stress, it could be multiple things, but you're never releasing the valve. Love that. Like a pressure cooker, right? Like you got to let the steam out. Because I've done this. A lot of people in my line of work, a lot of high pressure jobs. I imagine stuntmen, military. Then you find other ways to cope, right? A 1 beer turns into 10 beers and all this kind of thing, right? So maladaptive behaviors, is that one of the biggest like telltale signs of, oh my God, you're under too much stress?
I mean, it's maladaptive. I mean, I never aim to say a survival behavior is bad or good, but it's not the best for you and your health. Let me put it that way. So
yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I work in the ICU, and yes, over the long term, that hit on health is it's real. And it's what's interesting, Julie, about what you just made me think of was it's not, these two cycles happen in the macro and the micro, right? So that macro cycle of never releasing the pressure valve also keeps that balance between that amygdala, that lizard brain, and your cortex. You can't become aware that your lizard brain is in the driver's seat and stop it and get it. It's almost like a maladaptive physiology leading to those maladaptive behaviors in a micro sense. Can you manage to understand that you're under chronic stress? No, because you're still reacting with that sympathetic nervous system over and over again.
Yeah.
So especially break that cycle.
Especially when you go to sleep and wake up an hour later to fight a fire. So your body, I mean, from what it's like any moment I can be in a high stress situation. So that causes stress, like, because you never know. You're just relaxing, and any moment you could be pulled out of that. And it really wreaks havoc. So I thank you for explaining that, because what I wanted to do is people that go, oh, well, there are signs, and they're kind of, they may not be obvious, but stop and think, why am I doing this? It's like when I go and eat all the kids' Halloween candy. That's not, where did that come from? People gamble, other things, and they take excess. And, that's it's not shameful. And because, well, if I admit that I'm not whatever, I'm not good or what. And I love what Julie said. It's just, you're just somebody who needs to be aware of, and have guidance in. And there's no shame in that, right? Curtis, you're a tough guy. You're a military guy, both you guys. There's no shame in that. It takes a lot more courage to face these things and seek help and travel down that road than it is to kick a stray cat and yell at your daggum family all the time. That's what I've found. And that's why I wanted to open this up, because people are there are a lot of struggling inside of them. And these are people that once they overcome that, once they find the right guidance and info and encouragement, now they can go do great things in this world. That's what they want to do. I had a lot of passion. I just didn't know what was going on with me. And as I got to know you all over the years, I got better, right? I started taking action. And this is why we're so happy. So April, all right, in your experience, because you coach a lot of folks, you do a lot of high level, coaching, just like Curtis, what happens to high achievers who never downshift?
Well, it's just, as everybody was alluding to, it's that chronic pattern that keeps showing up. And I really want everybody to pause here and ask themselves, where am I holding tension right now? Where is the tension building in my body? Where am I feeling this? I see
all the guys are
moving his neck, staying with Curtis, right? And it's either in the neck, the head. This is where we're looking. We're looking for survival. We're constantly on target. This is the way our minds and brains are hardwired. It's not right or wrong. But when we recognize when we're in that chronic state, when we're on the hamster wheel, just one more thing. I got to send one more email before I do this. Yes, dinner's ready. I heard that an hour ago, but I still got to do this. That's the hamster wheel. That's that chronic, I have to keep going and I have to keep doing in order to achieve nothing. It's really detrimental to your body. And so when somebody is stuck in that mode, it's the tension in the body. The body's communicating. I'm holding everything for you. Where's the release valve, as Julie was talking about? When are we going to step away from the device? When can we go for a walk? When can we just sit down and enjoy a meal? Take that break, that much needed break, however that looks. Otherwise, your body still holds it. As you said, Mike, waking up, we wake up in the middle of the night, racing thoughts still happening because we're still in that sympathetic nervous system. So taking little sips of breath. It doesn't have to be anything huge. You don't have to meditate for hours, literally. Step away, feel your feet on the floor, take a breath, and just melt those outer layers. That's what it takes. But you have to make that conscious choice. You have to recognize when you're on the hamster wheel, or when you're on the set of hyper, you're on hypo, you're shut down. That is a checkout. That is, I can't get off the couch. I can't, I don't have the energy. That's also the alternative as well.
Two thoughts, and then we're going to give a shout out and dive a little bit deeper. This is a great discussion, y'all. And who was it? Chanel? Thank you. It is awesome. You're making it more awesome. Thank you so much for showing up with us. So when I heard you all talking in April, it felt like, and this describes my life very well, it's like you're running toward a finish line that keeps moving further.
Yes.
The closer you get, oh, well, just one more, but then there's something else, and it's just impossible. Look, I see the nods. Yep. And I want to take a poll. All right. First of all, who likes cockroaches? Because I've seen comments. I was going to say it. She's like, I hate cockroaches. So if you like cockroaches, please tell us. We would love to know that. And but also, can we get a consensus or at least a vote? Breath is not woo-woo. It's biology. When you breathe a certain way, your body responds a certain way. We got MD down here. Is that yes?
Yeah, I'm licensed in 3 states. If there's woo-woo on a thing I'm on, I'm gonna call it out. But no, breathing, totally required and good for you.
Very much. Very much.
April, what's fundamental about what you mentioned was the order of things, right? Even just the stopping to say, I need to breathe. Sometimes that breath is the thing that stops you to get you from that reptile brain into your cortex to do some decent.
Yeah, that's self-regulation. That's building that capacity, right? And resetting that nervous system.
Yeah, you take breathing for granted, but take care of one of my patients on a ventilator who has to relearn how to breathe to get off of it.
That's real talk.
It becomes.
Yes.
It's wild. I'm always mesmerized by people who you'll never walk again, and they just struggle and then they end up walking again. But yeah, well, that's another show. We'll do another round 6. I mean, this is going to keep going. But real quick, want to give a shout out. Hey, people who bring you the show. This show is brought to you today by, well, who's that guy? What? Hey, wait a minute. Let's put him up there. There he is. Yeah, Curtis Rivers. Thank you for bringing this show to the forefront. People are loving it, man. I am too. This is a mix of fun and real. We're getting perspectives. We're helping people, planting seeds. So Curtis, you, again, everybody on this panel has helped me majorly and helped so many other people. But because of your background and the things, I've really had a great time. So when people are going, hey, I want more out of life, but we have bills to pay and responsibilities, and it's so easy to make an excuse to go, I'll just find happy somehow. Nope. You built an amazing dream life, world-renowned stuntman, and then you said, I want to be happy, and you started pivoting to help others in your business. So kudos. Y'all want to learn more? Curtis has resources, everything, curtisrivers.com. Go check it out. Great guy, and he has the best outfits too. I mean, what can I say? And then number 2, this guy, the franchise maven. People are trying to figure out solutions. Go get an expert that knows the game. If you go to Appalachian Trail by yourself, city folks, and you don't prepare, you're not coming back. Don't do that. Same thing. If you're trying to figure out the right fit in your business, if it's for me, go talk to this guy. He's a high-level consultant and a guide. He's not a salesman. So thank you, Greg, for all you do, brother. back to the show. Real simple. I want to ask this. I want to get a little bit deeper. Panel, just fight over it. Just go for it. Yeah, just throw the pork chop in there. Get after it. So, what is one behavior leaders think is discipline, but is actually dysregulation? Because sometimes we can label stuff and it's not make it true. So, what anybody got any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'd say very similar to what April was just alluding to. I'd say never switching off. The leader who's always on, always checking, always pushing, looks super disciplined, but really it's just a nervous system not knowing how to feel safe, slowing down. And I say that from experience. So that always on, busy, not always the case.
Me too. Me too. Because I'm like, well, that's what I do. If you rest, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to miss deadlines. I'm not going to get ahead of the game, competition, whatever. But in reality, I found that you're not resting because you're lazy. You're resting so you can perform your highest. Like no Olympic athlete right now in the Winter Olympics is grinding full blast in the gym right before the daggum, event. And I was like, listen, if Michael Phelps can win 18 billion gold medals and take a nap, who am I, right? So who else likes to chime in on that? Because that's that everybody watching needs that.
I want to say something about people who micromanage. They're hyper vigilant. And I saw Julie just go, yeah, let's talk about that.
I'll stop that.
Because their nervous system isn't regulated. They're not relaxed enough to allow their team to lead. And so they run around and they're trying to manage everybody else. And then that puts everybody, if your nervous system is heightened, guess what? We're the ripple effect. Other people are going to be heightened. They're not going to feel that you trust them. They're going to feel like they're on their tiptoes. Oh, here he comes. Here she comes. Yeah. Got to act busy, be, working, that type of thing. And that really does a disservice to leaders, to their teams, and to the trust. So we need to learn how to self-regulate, allow to relax, and stop micromanaging.
Yeah. On that note, I had a former CEO, alcohol recovery, and the man said I was in the throes of leadership, brand new to nonprofit leadership, and the man said, no matter what happens, it's 70 and sunny. And I'm like, what? but what he meant, long story short, was you're the leader. If you freak out, what are they going to do? They're going to freak out. It's like being a dad. If I walk in and go, oh my God, guess what? They don't even know what's happening. They're all going to freak out because dad's freaking out, and that's not normal, right? So there's a lot of credence. And that was another reason I wanted to get regulated, because I didn't want to unnerve other people. I wanted to come in and help stabilize other people. But how can you do that if you're unstable, if you're not working on your own thing? And I know I'm not using the right words, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I wanted to, you can't teach what you don't know, right? You got to demonstrate it. You got to be it. So that was what's put me on the self-help journey, the healing journey, because I just wanted to be better. And I didn't want to pass that on to my kids. Generational baggage had to stop somewhere, right? Or at least minimize. And that's what drove me. So I say that because there's a lot of people going, well, no, not well. You're feeling it. Nothing's wrong with you. You're dead on. Go read a book. Go to the Integrate Trauma app, right? There's plenty of resources. All right, Julie, you're probably dying to please help me, save me.
Oh, no, I was just thinking of like a situation I was like actually commenting on today, and it brought me to some different projects I've been on where, I work in, technology and the center between this space between the nervous system and digital health and wellness. And I think the thing that I see is I work with systems and with teams that are obsessed with efficiency. And that's fine, but it's like, well, efficiency towards what? Okay. Are you trying to be efficient so you can take a break? Are we trying to automate so you can release? What's up with our obsession with automation and efficiency if we can't find that off switch? This is like what I deal with 90% of the time, I think right now is, okay, we have AI, we have all these tools. Well, can we use them to access our own nervous system? Can we bridge that gap a little bit? If we're automating, what are we automating for? And can we use the automation so we can take that pause?
I'm just giving pause for anybody want to jump in because I'm going to keep
I
Julie
love
with
that. I love that, because if you're trying to get more efficiency or more effectiveness, what are you going to do with it? Right? Is it so that you can make room for more hamster wheel that April pointed out, or is it to make the space for that healing? The piece I see often is people that equate important and urgent as if they mean the same thing, right? And they get their team spun up the same way of everything's a priority. Okay, well then nothing's a priority. That you don't understand what that
Right.
word means, right? Everything's
I've
important.
done that. Yeah.
Is it? Right? And again, my line of work, sometimes you have to go right into the room, make a decision, because if you don't, someone dies. And thank goodness that is not the vast majority of what I do on a 12-hour shift, or there's no way I would continue to do that. Nobody would. Right? There's certain things you're like, I will get to that when I get to that. What's going to happen if you don't? That's a great question. What's going to happen if I don't?
Well said. Okay. Julie. All right, because I want to focus on the panel, but I want to start with you. Designing environments that support humans, right? That's your thing, right? That's what you do. You create all these apps and communities and ecosystems, so people can be informed and safe. And so, if performance is a systems outcome, then what are most organizations missing?
I think the biggest thing that what I have seen, and I have made this mistake. So what I am saying right now absolutely comes from lived wisdom, is what I will call this. Okay. Just like anybody else here. Okay. So anything I offer is mistakes I've made at this point in time. And I think, when we have to look at the capacity of the teams or the systems that we build, whether it's tech, anything, is when I say low capacity, I mean, are people stressed? Is their capacity, we call this the window of tolerance. Is their nervous system like this? Like, do they have nothing? They're just fight, flight all the time. Is there some space for clarity and making decisions, self-awareness? What kind of culture are we in here? Because if you have a whole system built on fight, flight, you will not get performance or goals. You will not hit those marks because you will have, created a culture where there's either confusion, ambiguity, and their brains are like trying to make sense of things because things aren't clear. So what I see is, and that all rests on top of our nervous system. So if we've created systems where people don't understand where to go, they're stressed because there's micromanaging, I'm just naming all the things, then you have created an environment or a system full of ambiguity and confusion where people are using all that talent to try to figure out where the road is, and they can't make your goals. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's built off of nervous systems that are constantly in fight flight. Am I making sense here?
Oh, you don't expect me to argue with you. I'm not that dumb. No, I might throw Christopher a 50 and see if he can, but no. No.
Well, there's the third F that makes it even worse, of freeze with flight and fright. And that's not helping either when you keep people in any one of those. It's not a better third option, right?
I'm going to ask everybody, but I want to mosey on to Curtis because the culture, right? Workplace, you got environments like farmers. I used to do 12 years old. You go to the tobacco field and say you need to rest. Yeah, no. So Curtis, how do identity and language reinforce or sabotage systems?
Well, I think systems, they don't operate in a vacuum, right? So they're interpreted through identity and language. So you can have a really well-designed system, but if the language all around that's like kind of threat-based, then people experience that pressure that we're talking about. So on set, I could be that person with the radio, don't you mess this up, you've got one take, I'll get somebody else in, like we'll apply that pressure. Or could say, no worries, let's try that again, we'll go at half speed, we'll iron out all the kinks, let's keep working with this until it's smooth. See what I mean? Same rehearsal process, but a very different identity being activated. So if the language you're using, that I'm using on set, reinforces fear, then you get compliance. But if it reinforces professionalism, then you get ownership.
Bingo. I shouldn't say this, but I am. I remember the firefighting days. We had a 4-car garage fire, all this stuff. The water hose kept dying. Yeah, you're not nice in those situations. And then I come back and it died again. Come back and died again. I look back, I'm by myself. Yeah, like, yeah. So that I just gave up on the fire and then start wearing the engineer out. That's exactly what happened. But see, the problem was is that everybody stayed in that high stress state, even when it wasn't that serious. And that was the problem. I hated going into the place. I hated it because that was the culture. Man up, and I hated it because it just I intuitively knew that this is just not right. But that was my job, right? And that's a hard place to be in. So, we're talking about this because even if you're a fireman, we did have a fireman come in, a chief from another state, and he really changed a lot of things. It was okay not to be okay. It was okay to take rest. He mandatory told people to stop. And that made a big difference in culture. No longer was that man up stuff. It was, hey, be smart. And so you can. And the point of that was if you have an organization, you're leading anything, hot dog stand, big business, nonprofit, you can change it, right? Or you can just let it keep going, right? So, April, how do individuals create micro regulation systems inside chaotic environments?
Well, first, I want to say that there's always going to be chaos.
It's a fact.
We're going to experience chaos. So we can't make the chaos go away. But what we can do is find that space within ourselves that we're more regulated, that we can see what's happening around us as it is instead of get sucked into the chaos or all the things that is happening around us. And so that starts with us just finding that space as we've been talking here, right? Finding that release valve, being aware of simple, as you said, Mike, where's my feet right now? Because when we become dysregulated and get caught up in the chaos, then we're literally up in our heads and our minds and out of our bodies. So when we can bring it back to the body, where are my feet? People can do this right now. Even when you're driving, can you feel the pedal? Can you feel the steering wheel? Right? We're already at our next destination having the conversation or whatever. We're not even physically feeling or sensing the car or the movement of the car even. So when we can bring it back to the body, find that space and find our feet and literally take that breath, that is just adding just that little bit into our nervous system of that parasympathetic nervous system, shifting into that space so we can really be more present and receive more of ourselves.
Yeah, well, let me ask this because before we end, I want to make sure that the distinction is clear because I don't know. So, Julie, I'll start with you. Because like we said before, this is just me, right? Some people need, certain things, licensed professionals. Other people need, functional guidance and that kind of thing. So, if you don't mind, best you can, what signals tell you that someone needs licensed therapy or some, mechanism versus functional regulation support?
Well, I think first you got to give people tools and choice. I'm not going to lie. There's no such thing as a perfect. I've worked with people that have had terrible, relationships with therapists, and have trauma with therapists, and sometimes therapy is not, for whatever reason is not something that they would choose for themselves. And that's okay. So that's why I was like, you have to give people choice. And that's a big thing that we do with Integrate is we have providers where people have the freedom of choice, and they have to make those determinations, kind of like what April's saying. They have to be able to make those determinations for themselves. That's why we believe in tools, to give people to help, with their whatever level of dysregulation we're talking about. It is a mind-body experience. So, but, I think what we have to look at is what kinds of help exist. You know what I mean? When would you go see therapy? When would, I'll say for myself, I'll just speak from my own experience. Okay. I know I needed to go seek a therapist when I noticed that I was having racing thoughts. I noticed that there was a lot of belief systems that were on loop, in my own life, a lot of just rumination, of these beliefs that are and thoughts that would keep my nervous system in a fight flight loop, because it's not just external environments that'll get you in there. It's also your own history with, from childhood and beyond, that will also create dysregulation inside of you. And that's where, for me, I think going to a therapist, a clinician that works from we call it from the body up, a top or bottom up response, which means they work with somatics, but they also work the mind together, and they help kind of rewire that, so you can have that space, and you can, April's a licensed therapist. So, April, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Sorry, Mike, to get off script, but I just want to make sure.
You're never off script. Yeah. You're always on point. Yeah, that was great.
I completely agree with you, Julie. That's such really valuable information about having the tools and knowing who you need the most, right? Checking in. Yes, if I have somebody that comes to me and I see the signs that they're very dysregulated, breath work is not a good thing for them right now, right? We don't want to charge the body and get into just the outer edges of the sympathetic nervous system. That's completely opposite. They need Julie. They need a licensed therapist to, I say, the backdoor approach, right? Mm-hmm. Go back in there, have more capacity, so that way they can get to the point where they are ready for the breath work. It's not my job to fix people. I guide them. And having Julie and Chris and Curtis here as amazing guides, it's so important to know who can support you in what avenues, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm not laughing at y'all. Did y'all see that, Kenneth? Remember I asked who likes cockroaches? He said, who's safe for cockroaches? And I hit that at the wrong time. That's what I
thanks,
did.
Julie, for the cockroaches. Now we got cockroaches.
Yeah. I know. I didn't realize that. I was like, apparently I hit the nerve on that. I feel so seen on that one because I hate them.
Okay. When I mail you the thing I was supposed to mail you, there won't be a plastic cockroach in it, I promise. All right. So, but I love that, because that's what I notice about you all, right? Because you'll say, hey, somebody, because you're in other people's best interest, right? So if you see something, and I've Curtis, and I've seen you all in action. Hell, hold up, let me go guide you to this person or this, and that's responsibility. That's best interest. And so let me ask Christopher, because, man, from a medical standpoint, where do you see collaborations working well? Like, what do you have to add?
Well, yeah, it's the kind of a multidisciplinary collaborative approach is generally best, right? If you are nothing but a hammer and you're in a room full of nails, you're in good shape. But a minute that there's eggs and babies about, you're not as useful as you think you are. So some of my best coaching engagements have come with we just walked a little bit out of scope. Make sure the person is safe in the moment, but do they need a therapist? Because, I can help them talk and manage an inner critic in the moment, but I don't know where it came from, and delving into the past is outside of my scope. Mm-hmm. And if you have a medical diagnosis that's contributing to a mood disorder, neither one of those people is going to be prescribing anything. And if that's an option for you, you may need a physician on board as well. It's not a failure, right, to have recognition that there are folks with multiple roles, and you as a human are a complex adaptive system. It really shouldn't surprise anybody that it's going to take a team, to get somebody functioning optimally.
Well, yeah, dead on. And Curtis, last but not least, man, how do you handle situations where someone needs more than coaching? You're like, okay, this is beyond me.
Well, I think everyone's hit the nail on the head in the same way. I think, to be honest, part of being a responsible coach is knowing when you're not the right level of support. So if someone needs licensed therapy, I'll say that really clearly, and they'll help them find it, definitely. We wear different hats. I'm mainly a coach, and so in some elements I'm a consultant. I may, in some instances, be a healer too. There's different modalities within what I'm doing. But even from the word go, when they first jump on a call with me, that's what it's about. It's about how I can help that person. Is this person a good fit? And can I take them from where they are now, stuck and struggling, to where they want to be, a life of freedom and happiness and alignment? If I can't, then I'm already thinking on the call, this person's a better fit for this person. And it's part of that. So it starts really from the word go, the first meeting. I'm looking to see genuinely, how can I really serve that person and help them? And I know I'm not always going to be the right person, and there's no ego attached. That's fine, because there's, like, people on the screen now, there's plenty of people I can send people to who are a better fit. It's important.
Okay, so listen, Jeremy and Kenneth, man, I'm trying to be professional here. You're turning me into a Muppet baby, man. So I appreciate you all. Hey, tune in next week. We'll definitely go. Yeah, I was going to say something smart. I'll tell you what, let's close off with some fun. And then I want people to know where to find you all, because I do appreciate you spending your evening expertise. And the only reason you're doing it is because you want to help people. There's so many people with so much potential out there, and they just have to figure out what to do, right? Like all this virus code and stuff going in our little computers and a lot of things. And then you just need guidance. And so the only thing I can contribute to this is, real quick, find someone you trust and do your homework on this. That's it. Do your homework. Find somebody you can trust. Like, if I call Christopher, he's going to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. All these folks. Curtis, you've done it. April, you've done it like every day. Julie, you're the expert of that. And Christopher, he will. We're getting over the first date. He'll be like, hey, knock it off. And I need that. And so I just want to make sure, hey, put trust first, do your research, talk to people, and be willing to have somebody say, no, don't pay me. You need this. This is in your best interest. That's because, to put the onus on us, the non-experts, is really kind of cruel. And it's sad, because I don't know what to ask. Julie, how am I supposed to know what to ask? You're supposed to know. That's your wheelhouse. And that's why we're talking about your app and integrate. So make sure we share that with folks here soon. Curtis, that's why we put you in April and all, because we want people to go where it's good. Like, hey, I need honest, opinion, advice, guidance, and this is where you go. Not the only people, just the only ones I'm putting on here and saying. So let me ask this. Finish this sentence. April, we'll go in clockwise this way. Finish the sentence. If performance were designed instead of demanded, if performance was designed instead of demanded.
Oh, finish the sentence.
Or should we pick on Julie? We pick on
Julie. Yeah, I'm
there
gonna pass.
If performance were designed instead of demanded, I think then we would have an option to pause. Like we would have an opt-out point designed in our system. Or not, a pause. You see what I'm saying? Pauses would be in the system. I think that's on brand for tonight.
I like it. Good job, Julie.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm just going from experience. Definitely not medical or therapy advice here. But School of Hard Knock, if performance were designed instead of demanded, I would have more harmony. I would stop trying to make everything happen and start letting things happen. That's the practical. It's not spiritual bypassing and woo-woo. Again, that invisible, hey, one more thing, never hit the finish line in 4 years, and say, hey, you relax. Yes, sometimes you got to work hard in your business. Yes, sometimes your family time is going to go to the wayside a little bit. But as soon as you hit that marker, you go right back to the family harmony. You go right back into these things. That's what it would look like for me. Anybody else want to chime in? Because I ain't going to ask that twice.
Yeah, I think if I was going to finish the sentence, if performance was designed instead of demanded, I would have the centeredness to be able to relish pursuing my potential instead of the regret that I haven't realized it yet.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the audience, but they're still talking about roaches, I think. So you all have fun. DM me. Yeah. My crowd came out. They're like, let's talk about the roach thing again. Thank goodness.
We've turned jump the shark into jump the cockroach.
Right. Well, Curtis, I mean, I probably could have phrased that whole hell of a lot better, but you know, you're talking about designing intentionally, right? April's favorite word. Instead of, you know, just going with the flow and bearing it down. So what do you want to add to this? Because I'm trying to figure out a better way to ask it. I'm lost. It's late. Save me.
So what, in terms of that, finishing the sentence?
Yeah, if you want to.
If performance were designed instead of demanded, burnout would drop and ownership would rise. How's that?
There you go. So, hey, true or false, shake your head, ignore me, but here's how I'll sum it up. Performance isn't personality. It's architecture. You're designing it. You're making things. I buried my head in the sand, made excuses, saw things as I wanted to see, not really how they were. And we're talking about getting real. As soon as I said, you know what, there's a problem, there's an issue, I'm going to tackle it. Boy. And they said, what are you going to do? I don't know, but look at who I've attracted through that, right? Like, look who I've got around me. So you don't even have to know what. Just go out there and find it. Well, I don't know what question to ask. Well, just get out there. You stumble upon the Integrate app. There you go. You know, like, go ahead.
Well, Mike, you're bringing on something I think that's really important that I see a lot in people I work with and work around is the concept of performance should not require, from our standpoint, performing. Okay. Mm-hmm. We should be coming from a place of authenticity so we can meet outcomes like what Chris was saying earlier about, meeting your potential, authentic potential, not performing for systems that lead you to burnout, like what, Curtis was talking about. So I think that that's really important in that language. Again, going back to Curtis's work, that I just want to make sure we're talking about that, because I think sometimes when people hear that, their subconscious comes up and they're like, oh, I'm going to perform like they want me to. This isn't about, appeasement, which is also a trauma response. It's about your own authenticity, and meeting that authentic potential of your own performance.
Yeah, beautiful. There's something else to tag back to what Curtis said. Julie reminded me that, they always say if there's sudden drop in cabin pressure, put your own mask on first.
Yeah.
That language shift can start in your self-talk, because if all of your self-statements are should and always and never and must, you've put yourself in that position. And again, the system outside is going to be reinforcing that as well. So it's a dyad between how your organization talks and how that results in your self-talk, but trying to get a hold of that and awareness of, I should do this. Says who? And what do you really want here? And if you say should, you end up in a shame spiral and paralyzed. And if you stop and say, I want to be better at this, not I should be better at this. Okay, well then what action do you take to get better at it? Now you've got agency and a path forward instead of you're just stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, Christopher. Well said. Yeah. It reminds me of, stop shoulding on yourself, right?
Yeah, that shouldy thinking.
Yes, exactly. And that brings it back to that authentic expression, how am I speaking to myself, and really giving ourselves that ease and grace as we go through life, and knowing that we're still learning. We're still learning until we take our last breath, and really unlearning and learning at the same time. So again, there can be a lot of wonkiness, when you first start working with the therapist, when you start regulating your nervous system, things might come up a little bit. And so it's really about being aware, knowing that you are doing your best for what you know how to do, and just take a breath and relax, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it's all about.
I know we got to close, but Julie, real quick, in my experience, maybe I'm just a special egg, right? But as soon as I was like, I'm going to tackle this issue, it felt like 50 more issues popped up. I'm like, oh shit, it's like whack-a-mole. Like, and then I'm like, oh my God. But again, it felt like this sucks and I'm done. But I just encourage people, keep going, because I love what you said so eloquently that I can't repeat. But now I don't perform. I just do. Like, I say things that I want to say because I don't have nothing to prove. I did. I wanted to people please and things, and working through that horrible journey. I don't say it rude. I'm kind. I say it out of love, but I say it because that's what I need to do. or otherwise, why am I not saying what needs to be said? Fear and negative tapes, childhood, blah, blah, blah. And then you can now go out and do things. You can make failure. Now when I fail, I'm like, shit, I can't believe it took that long to fail. I don't beat myself up. I just learn from it and go on. And so it's talking about health. You're talking about healthy mind, healthy body. And that takes effort, right? That's it. That's why. So go ahead and lead us, Charlie Brown. Julie, where can people go? You got newsletters, websites. Where do you want folks to start? And
yeah, so if we have a LinkedIn heavy crew here. So you can we do a weekly a weekly newsletter called Signals and Systems on Integrate Trauma Informed Network. We talk about all of these things we've talked about. And then we also have an app that you can download on let'sintegrate.live, where we actually practice daily signals and this kind of more expansive practice of learning to feel these little signals. And then we expand out through workshops and some different breathwork classes that our different providers offer. And you can download the app and kind of learn more about the nervous system and polyvagal science through our experience inside of the app. So we're not just talking about it, because this is all experiential. And I think that that's the big thing that I've learned from like experience design, which is why like we lead our newsletters with a practice, just like April did, is that I can't sit here and talk about it. I want you to experience it. And then we'll dig in and talk about what you just experienced inside of yourself. And we do that in the app, and we do that on all levels in our community as our affinity group. So it's a felt sense, but we also want you to experience that and then know the science behind it.
You've done it. I've seen your work firsthand for years, folks. There it is. Share it, tap into it, make use of it. 1000%. Thank you for all you do for people, because now they're getting out there and doing impactful things, right? So kudos. And speaking of that, Curtis, and I'm going to say, Curtis, or you're creating a spot for 2 more clients this month, correct?
I'm actually fully booked now, so the 2 spots for opening, I'm booked up until April. So I'm opening up at the 1st of April, two slots.
So how do we get on the waiting list, brother?
So just reach out to me. curtisrivers.com is my main video site. I'm across all social media. Or if people want to do a little bit of a deep dive, I've got a little free tool. If they go to alignmentcompass.com, there's a little free tool there that'll help them just get a handle and a bit of an overview on where they're at, and they can reach out through that as well.
Yeah, with high performance, high achievers, man. That's because then you hit a plateau and you're like, what the hell just happened, right? And you think you're the only one. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's another guy that's been in the danger zone, and he gets it. So thank you. April Wyatt, you're not shy. Go ahead. Tell them where to find you, because you got and you got a show. So might want to plug the show on YouTube, because you are taking on certain guests too. So tell us what you want.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I have a live show that happens every Thursday at noon Central Standard Time. And I'm actually hosting Jesper and Amy tomorrow. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You can find that Living with Intention, April Wyatt, and then LinkedIn, April Wyatt, Wyett. And also my website for more information about Bali is livingwithintention.co.
We couldn't afford the M. That cost extra. So, all right. Well, all right, Christopher Colombo, my friend, close us out. What do you do? Where can folks tap in? What do you want them to know, brother?
So probably the easiest way to find me is the website, functionalmentoring.com. That's where my thought partner, Paul, another veteran, and I, we try to get all of your ships sailing through leadership, followership, mentorship, and relationship. Right now working on a founders cohort for a physician leadership development. So burnout is one of those things that seems like one size fits all until you start to figure out why folks are, and everyone's a little different. So this is aimed specifically at new physician leaders that just hit imposter syndrome. And that little reframe I did with should is where we start. So we start with your own self-talk and then head on to, how to build psychological safety for a team, how to give feedback, and then how to solve strategic problems instead of the tactical stuff that we usually do in a crisis. So functionalmentoring.com or Christopher at Functional Mentoring. and just, yeah, looking forward to collaborating with y'all.
Oh, okay. I had to put myself in the middle, Christopher, because I feel like the Dr. X of like the healthy team, right? Like there you go. Like you got a whole buffet of options that are amazing. So again, birds of a feather flock together. Yeah, tap in, be around positive people that have your best interest at heart. That's what it's all about. Yeah. What is that? Is that UK clock?
Look at the time.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. Well, go wake your neighbors up and ask them why they didn't watch today. Okay, go do that, and ask them if they got any roaches because we don't like.
Curtis.
Good
Oh,
Lord.
Curtis, you get the gold medal.
You are
tonight.
All right. Curtis, you needed to do that because he knew that I was going to go again and again and again. Yeah. So thank you all so much, Victoria, all the folks there. Thank you. Come back next week. Dr. Roseanne, folks, Top Rank 1 podcast, amazing individual and absolute expert in childhood development will be on next week. And then a little preview for what's happening in Women's Month. If you know of somebody who would be a good panelist, perhaps, if you know any interest at all, if you want to tap into the party, anything, just hey, check out my LinkedIn. We'll be putting a lot of information on there. So Mike Asherbrenner or Redneck One on LinkedIn, Hounds of Business on YouTube. We'll post it everywhere. Old school carrier pigeons, right, Julie? Weather pending. I take those. All right. So appreciate you all. You are amazing folks. Love having you in the Hounds of Business. And if folks out there is going, hey, how do I get into the party? Reach out. That's it. Just reach out. We have a group call. Grab a chair. No pressure. We just share stuff. If you like it, great. If not, tell Sally. She'll like it, right? So don't do this alone. All right. You have something special to offer the world. Let's get after it. People, resource, and support. That's what we're about. Help you become your best self. And dadgummit, we got the crew. You just saw it. So let's get out there and get after it, y'all. All right. Appreciate it. Time to wave. Curtis, get your clock and your princess wave out, buddy. There we go.
It's going to turn into a pumpkin.
An English pumpkin, like an English pumpkin. Right. So appreciate you, brother. And if you want to stay backstage, I won't keep you off forever, but we'll chat. If not, see you all later. Come back next week, y'all. Let's kick butt.
Thank you.
Be well. Take a breath.